But first, let's start in KZN, where the iconic Comrades Marathon took place this weekend. Now, this crazy race between Durban and Pietermaritzburg, I don't know if you know this, it's 90 kilometers long, people. A running race, which is insane. A half marathon is 21 Ks. A marathon, a normal marathon is 42. An ultra marathon is 50 kilometers or longer. This is 90 kilometers. And I have to say, the kinds of people who do this race need to get back on their medication because, guys, the level of mental illness required to do this race. This year, 22,000 people ran the Comrades. And I'm just pointing out that South Africa's insane asylums have 22,000 too few beds to meet demand. I'm just saying, it's the same number, I'm just saying. And in the women's race, I am thrilled to announce that South African superstar Gerda Steyn won her 4th Comrades Marathon, people. Incredible. And she won by 4 minutes over second place. That's longer than it takes to get an STD at Matric Rage. That's like really... You only made that noise because it's true. Okay. The men's race was an epic battle between the top two, and in the end, South Africa's Tete Dijana won his 3rd Comrades, beating Dutch Piet Wiersma by less than a minute, guys. 1 minute. Imagine running 90 kilometers from Durban to Pietermaritzburg to lose by less than 60 seconds. That's less than 1 second a kilometer you lost. I would book myself into an insane asylum, honestly, if that happened to me. Honestly, though, congratulations to every lunatic who did this year's Comrades. Truly, I'm so jealous that you have done such an extraordinary thing. Also, just quickly, in the last 24 hours, a video I made about last year's Comrades has started going viral again. And I have to play it for you, just so that you can see what it is, because for the slow learners in the group, it was a joke. It was obviously a joke, but people think it was real. This is what's going viral again.
This is insane. Thousands of South Africans are fleeing KwaZulu-Natal today. They're terrified of Jacob Zuma's Umkhonto weSizwe Party's impending rule. They're calling it the Comrades Marathon. More than 20,000 people are on the way from Durban to Pietermaritzburg, and the fastest of them are expected to reach the Lesotho border by nightfall.
You have no idea how many people didn't take that as a joke. Some people thought they were actually people fleeing Durban on foot. White people fleeing Durban on foot. Some people thought I was spreading fake news to mislead the nation. Media literacy matters, people. Teach your grandparents and get them off those WhatsApp groups and Facebook. All right. Yeah. All right, let's get into the biggest story in South African politics right now. I want you to imagine something for a second. It's imagination time. Imagine you have a job and 2 people at your work hate each other. Let's call them Doid and Fudu, hypothetically. Now, Doid and Fudu hate each other, and then one night, Fudu goes online and drags Doid to filth, posting that Doid is the worst thing ever to happen to the company, and F Doid, and F Doid supporters. Fudu is then told to apologize by the boss of your company, and Fudu then apologizes, but not to Doid, and then faces a disciplinary hearing. Now, in this entirely made-up situation, who do you think is getting fired, Fudu or Doid? Okay, but what if I told you that Fudu is the daughter of the boss? Who is getting fired? Well, breaking news, Doid got fired. Floyd Shivambu was sacked as Secretary General of Jacob Zuma's MK party last week and made just a regular member of parliament instead. This after he controversially visited self-proclaimed prophet and man on the run from the police, Shepherd Bushiri, on Easter weekend. Now, MK says the Bushiri visit was the main reason for Floyd's firing, but this has been coming. Ever since Floyd got to MK, he has been bringing in old EFF allies and sidelining powerful MK members, including Jacob Zuma's favorite child, Duduzile Zuma. And yes, Duduzile did go on that wild midnight F-bomb social media rant against Floyd a while back, but that moment seemed to have passed, which is why, to some, Floyd sacking a Secretary General now has been a bit of a surprise. It was unclear whether Floyd's faction had risen to dominance of MK over the Dudu Zuma squad, but now we know that Dudu's squad won. To others, though, this sacking is no surprise at all. The MK party has seemed like a Zuma family business from the start. Floyd fighting with Dudu was bound to end badly for Floyd. As they say, in a family business, if you're not family, you're not in business. This sacking marks one of the biggest career collapses in South African political history. Floyd Shivambu went from being the second most powerful leader of the EFF to an outcast nobody eNCA backbencher member of parliament, all by his own decisions. But it did get us thinking, what is the biggest political career collapse in modern South African history? Who has fallen from the highest height to the lowest low? So, without further ado, please make some noise for the first ever edition of the Political Career Collapse Cup! Yes! Welcome! We're going to crown a winner. Here's how it works. We have 8 contestants who will be drawn against each other in a knockout format, starting in the quarterfinals. We will work through them all until we have a winner. So, let's do our first quarterfinal, folks. It's Floyd Shivambu versus Musiu Teralekota. Floyd Shivambu went from being the second most powerful leader of the EFF to an outcast nobody eNCA backbencher member of parliament, all by his own decisions. And Teralekota over there, he was ANC national chairperson for a long time. Then he left to start COPE, the Congress of the People. COPE looked cute for a second, but clearly couldn't cope and subsequently collapsed over a decade, and as of 2024 has no parliamentary representation whatsoever. So, who has had the bigger career political collapse between these two? Is it Lekota or Floyd? It's Floyd! Lekota, you are gone! Okay, next quarterfinal. Musi Maimane went from being the DA leader and securing more votes for the DA than ever before to being booted out. He started his own party, Bossa, talked a big game, and then barely scrambled together a place in parliament. He is up against Zweli Mkhize, who fell from being the heroic Minister of Health during the early days of COVID to leaving in disgrace after being implicated in the Digital Vibes scandal, where money meant to battle COVID was being stolen. So, who's had the bigger collapse, Musi or Zweli? Wow, well done, Musi. That's going to do well for you next election. Okay, all right, quarterfinal 3 of the Political Career Collapse Cup. Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula was the Speaker of the National Assembly, but which is one of the most powerful positions in the country, until she was arrested on corruption allegations. And she is facing against Ronaldo Gous, a right-wing bigot who shouted on the internet until he became a DA member of parliament. Then he was kicked out after an old video surfaced of him screaming the K word over and over again. So who's had the bigger collapse, Ronaldo or Nosiviwe? She had the bigger collapse than Ronaldo. Oh, okay, well, last time, Ronaldo or Nosiviwe? Okay, that's a bigger swing. All right, and final quarterfinal, let's keep going. Ace Magashule, he was the ANC Secretary General, one of the most powerful positions in South African politics, until he was expelled from the party. He then started his own party that did absolutely nothing at the election, and he is now facing the biggest corruption trial to come out of state capture. He is up against Lindiwe Sisulu. Now, Sisulu comes from the great ANC Sisulu family and has been coasting off of her parents' fame for her whole life. She's basically a political Nepo baby. She has been a minister of a bunch of government departments and left all of them in a raging mess. She ran to be ANC president twice and failed both times. She has now finally given up and left South African politics. So who is the biggest career collapse, Ace or Lindiwe? Oh, that sounds like Lindiwe. All right, semi-finals of the Political Career Collapse Cup. It is Floyd, who again has collapsed to being a regular eNCA backbencher after being EFF top or second top, against Zweli Mkhize of Digital Vibes, who has had the biggest career collapse, folks. One more time, Zweli or Floyd? Wow, Floyd Shivambu, well done, brother. Okay, and up against them, it is the K-word spewing Ronaldo Gous against the political Nepo baby Lindiwe Sisulu. Who's had the bigger career collapse? Ronaldo? And now in the final, to crown the biggest political career collapse in South African modern history, we have Digital Vibes, Zweli Mkhize versus K-word spewing Ronaldo Gous. Who is the winner of the first ever Political Career Collapse Cup? Is it Zweli Mkhize or Ronaldo Gous? One more time. One more time. 3, 2, 1. You know what? I think it's a tie. Congratulations to William Kiese and Ronaldo Roos, the two biggest political career collapses in South African modern history. Very good.